What's that book you've been reading about?
It's about heroes who get to go on adventures, defeat the monsters, and save the day. Little boy from the south side of Chicago, the only tourist to get to do that.
Hola Jonathan, I'm Jovanny with Univision. ¿Cómo estás? How are you?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Yo también estoy muy emocionado. I just want to say that my emotions are all over the place. I'm scared, I'm terrified, I'm angry, I'm intrigued. Was that the plan with the show?
It must be, because when I was doing it, I was going through all the emotions. So I figured if I feel it, you know, if the cast feels it, if Misha writes it, you know, hopefully everybody else will feel it too. So.
Yeah, it was the plan. I think that when you create something, you want people to feel something, and I'm a huge horror fan, so I'm like, I also want people to be a little anxious and scared as well. So the roller coaster of emotions is always the plan.
To make you angry, yes, baby. To make you angry and scared and intrigued. That's that's what Misha said. To get you.
It sure is. Like that's what we want.
And she called you out too. She said, Jovanny at Univision, we're gonna make him scared.
Yes.
I haven't even gotten to the real strange part.
Let me ask you, as a Latino, as a Mexican, for me,
Yes,
watching the show, there's like a lot of emotions, because I feel like many of the struggles from the Latino community and the Black community are similar. So it gets to me. Can you tell me, what's the impact of having a horror show that tells the horrors that the Black community has lived?
I think it forces us as a nation to confront really ugly parts of ourselves, right? Really ugly parts of our history. And, you know, there's such dangers when the truth is distorted. There's dangers when you overlook history and you don't tell it in its entirety. We see that these horrors in our nation are more terrifying than the actual monsters.
Wow, what is the impact? Well, we're about to find out, right? I say that much. But I'll also say that what I believe the impact to be, or what I hope it will be, is that it makes the experience more universal, right? Here I am, a 30-year-old Black man, speaking to my Latino brother, you know, and we both, in some ways, experience the same emotions.
One of the things that's so exciting to me about Lovecraft Country is it really deconstructs this classic genre and flips it on its head and reimagines it in a very bold and audacious way, and then centers Black folks, you know, in the middle.
One of the things that Matt's novel was doing beautifully was kind of reclaiming this space that typically people of color have been erased from. Because as a fan of genre, I'm like, I don't see myself in it a lot. And when you do see yourself, you tend to die first. And so it was exciting for me to be like, okay, let's go for it. Let's say this is going to be an epic adventure, and that epic adventure doesn't have to just stop at Black people. We can expand it to all of the others who have been left out of this story.
That's what Lovecraft is about.
We gotta face this new world and stake our claim in it.
Abby, what's going on with your character? I'm so intrigued.
Yeah, so Christina is the only daughter of a man who is the leader of a sect, an order of men who call themselves the Sons of Adam, and she's very much the agent of chaos in the show. I would say, you know, she's representative of the 1950s oppressed woman attempting to liberate herself from the patriarchal society that she's been brought up in both societally and also in her own home. And she's doing it all with her very comfortable white privilege. So she's the Karen.
The ultimate Karen.
Yeah, she's. I think also she's very much, for me, I always felt that she was commentary on or a meditation on the oppressed becoming the oppressor. So for me, it was very much that was something that I anchored my character in really unpicking that oppression and how she breaks away from it by then oppressing others, which is something that we see, you know, every day. It's a very universal sort of historical story.
The show touches so much in police brutality and racism. Could you predict how timely the show was going to be when you started filming?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it would, I feel like it's, the show is relevant now. I think it would have been relevant 2 weeks ago. I think it would have been relevant 5 years ago. I feel like it would have been relevant, you know, 20 years ago, because racism isn't a thing of the past. The patriarchy isn't a thing of the past. Inequality, injustice, and systemic racism, white supremacy, these things aren't things of the past. These are things that we're still dealing with every single day. So it was relevant when I auditioned for it, and it spoke to me then. And I'm just praying for a time that it's like, it feels like history rather than current.
I thought the world was one way and found out it isn't.
My answer was going to say absolutely not. But then, if we take the time to look at our history and the way things work in this country, the way things are, I should say, are broken in this country, it's not like doesn't need brain surgery to tell you that Lovecraft Country is would still have been a relevant storyline to tell. Now, we already had writing on the wall. It's just now that, you know, since COVID hit, everyone stopped what they were doing to pay attention that the writing was on the wall for the last 4 or 5 decades.
I mean, that's been going on. It's been built into, you know, the DNA of America. The policing, the system that has been here since the first Black person was brought over.
This systemic racism that our nation was built upon hasn't been dismantled. So, you know, our heroes are essentially on a quest to disrupt white supremacy, but we're still on that quest today in 2020.
This world is haunting us.
It's horrible, ain't it, Jovanny?
It is.
We shouldn't be. Our lives here shouldn't be horrific.
Yes, exactly.
They shouldn't continue to be horrific. You're supposed to come here and get your dreams fulfilled, and instead, there's nightmares here. People have nightmarish experiences, and it shouldn't be that way. We should all have an opportunity at a dream.
Just because they don't want you here doesn't mean you're not supposed to be.
But it is exciting in this moment to have more people not being able to look away, that the protesters are doing the work on the ground to say, you cannot ignore what's happening. We're going to deal with these sins of the past, and we're going to deal with them now.
And does it feel as good as me watching for you when you're on the set kicking racist ass?
I will say that the story is very cathartic for me. There's a lot of pain and blood memory that I was able to pour into Letty. And on a molecular level, even though it takes a lot, you got to bring a lot to the altar and sacrifice a lot, it still was very healing for me.
And I'm in Chicago, so there's a lot of things happening here in the city. But also on a happier side, I love going back in time and seeing the city in the 50s and seeing the music, seeing the happiness in the South Side, seeing the clothes. How was doing that for the show? How was that for you?
It was great to shoot there. It's really a character in itself. Like, you can feel it in the show with the buildings and the architecture. Yeah, it was awesome.
You know, Chicago was just this wonderful
backdrop, and I just enjoy the city so much. It preserves Black culture in a way that other cities don't do that, in a way that other cities might not. So I have a tremendous amount of appreciation for Chicago because of that.
However, there's a lot of history that comes from Chicago, a lot of beauty, a lot of stories of triumph, and a lot of culture. In regards to Lovecraft, you know, getting to see what Chicago looked like during the Jim Crow era and the spirit of the people, it was inspiring and informative all the same.
Like, the first episode has an amazing block party. How was that for you to like step back in time and live that era?
And so when I got to set for the first time, actually every day I got to set, I was amazed by just how authentic and how real. I mean, it was just real. I mean, it was real.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a night shoot, so it did go on to the very early hours of the next day. So I think we would wrap at like 4 a.m. or something like that. Like, the dancing and the singing really helps. Being on stage really helps because your adrenaline's pumping. So yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and it was just really different. I'd never done anything like it. I think it was very important to us to kind of, you know, if this was Diana's Atlas, there'd be a fortress on the south side of Chicago, and to see that, that's a safe space for them. For people of color, it was the joy in that. It was really important for us to have that block party in the beginning to really understand that this community had built this safe space in all of the terror that's surrounding them.
And finally, you get chased, you get thrown around, you're covered in blood, there's explosions. Is it fun, exhausting? How is it making the show?
It's exhilarating, man. It's exhilarating. You know, I can say, let me be careful. Yes, I did every one of my stunts. Every single one, I did.
It's everything. I mean, this show, I definitely had some visits to the hospital.
Wow.
It was a labor of love, man, and it felt good. And I will say though, when Friday night came or Saturday morning, I was ready to go to bed. I was ready to go to bed. And then Sunday evening, I couldn't wait to get back to it. But yeah, it took a lot out of us. But hopefully, it gives a lot to everybody else.
What is reality?
I loved every part of it. You know, I loved the demands. It was I think one of the most demanding projects I've ever been a part of, if not the most. And I think we all knew it was sacred, and so we approached it in a way that was very spiritual, but it demanded that you give every ounce of your mind, body, and soul to it in order to do it justice.
And are you having fun throwing your cast around and covering in blood and chasing them?
You do not understand how much fun I'm having. I had with it. For me, it's really weird, but the more blood, I was always on set with like the little blood bag being like, no, we need more over here. And there was actually later in an episode, there's literally like a projectile like blood splash onto Jonathan and Jurnee, and doing that was just, it just gave me so much joy. And they were like, why does this give you so much joy? And I was like, I can't say, but seeing you guys get shot in the face with blood is amazing. It's pretty great.
I can't wait to see what you do to them in season 2.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to share the show with our audience.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.